How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my video. Before we get into the games, I'm going to put a couple of sort of preliminary comments. I had them originally in my video before I analyzed the games. I already recorded all of that, but I just thought it would be better to kind of do it in a separate frame so that there's kind of a dedicated space for that. So if you want to skip over to the chess, you're more than welcome to do that, but a couple of things. So I just completed the quad. I debated whether or not to spoil, and I decided I would. I finished on 1 out of 3. However, so that was 1 win and 2 losses. However, I played some very tough competition, as you will see, and especially having looked through the games, and I think the mistakes were actually very instructive and stuff I can look even more into on my own time when I'm not recording. So I thought that was a positive, and I played some very strong players, and I only lost 14 rating points or something like that, so it wasn't really the end of the world. Just wanted to get a couple things out there before we get into the games. So wanted to credit all the artwork, whether, the thumbnail, and you'll see the little player icons by the player names, to my friend Matthew Radoskowski, who has a YouTube channel. I think is pretty inactive now, but I know he's always I'm sure he'll be back at it. So his channel is called More Chess, and I will put a link in the description to his channel. And also just wanted to kind of give a shout out because this is Cat Hair Quad, which is where it's 4 players. We all play against each other, and the guy who hosted, who's actually the highest rated player in the tournament, Jason Howell, it has an affinity for animals, and we've actually had some merch out. Cat Hair Quad. You can see these are his cats that were put on the shirt. So, I don't know, just thought that was cool. And, yeah, I think that's it. So, I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you enjoy the analysis. And I will see you over there. I'm playing this quad against, and here, I'll introduce the players here real quick. So, Jason Howell, for a long time, probably over a decade at least, he was the best player in Waco, and someone I deeply respected, and still do respect, and feared, and still fear, as a chess player. In round 2, I played Tanish. Tanish is probably 11 or 12 years old or something like that, maybe even 10 or something. He's very young, one of the best young up-and-coming players in Waco, definitely, if not even in the state. And then Daryl West, who is also a veteran, and also someone that I have known, played, feared, respected for a long time. So pretty cool to play against these guys. And yeah, we'll just see how this video goes. I'm just going to be going through all of the games. I briefly plugged them through an engine, so I have some idea as to, I'm not completely walking in blind. I thought it would be better for the quality if I knew some stuff in advance rather than figuring everything out. But I do want to disclaim that a lot of things that we'll be going over in this video, we will be figuring it out together. And, yeah, I think that's it. I felt like there was something else I wanted to disclaim. Oh, yeah, of course. I gotta give credit. The artwork that is the thumbnail and these pictures that you see are credit to my friend Matthew Radoskowski, who has a YouTube channel. I think he posts on and off, or is pretty inactive from what I last saw. But he has, whenever he does post, it's quality content, so I will put a link in the description, so please feel free to check out his channel. And he also does great cartoon work with, just making us chess players into cartoons and things like that. It's pretty fun to see. So, alright, so in round 1, I'm paired against Jason Howell, who is the highest rated player in this quad. And since we're selfish, we'll be looking at all these games from my perspective. So, he plays pawn to e4. And I was already debating, because I am looking into playing other openings other than e5, maybe some French, maybe some Caro-Kann, maybe Sicilian, maybe, I don't know, an Alekhine, a modern. I'm probably just naming all the openings, aren't I? But I decided for this quad, because I didn't really realize that I'd be doing it until just a couple days prior. So I haven't really had time to kind of grind other, openings. I'm not really going to reveal them, not because I'm worried about people prepping for me. I just think it's unnecessary at this point. So I decided to play what I know for this game, and for this quad overall, for the most part. So I just played e5, he played knight f3, knight c6, And then he played a Ruy Lopez, which is kind of his bread and butter. On white, he plays a Ruy Lopez a lot, and as black, his bread and butter is the French. So I played a6, he played bishop a4, I played knight f6, and here he played d3, indicating that we will not get a marshal, which I'm fine with. I played b5, bishop b3, bishop c5. Apparently a better way or more professional way is to go bishop e7. And I think that the ideas are just like bishop e7, d6, maybe play b5 at some point. And you just have a very solid position. But the line I've been playing, at least the last few times I played against the Ruy Lopez, is just going here. There are downsides to putting the bishop on c5. It can be a bit suspect to like c3, d4 in the future. It can more easily get attacked, whereas when the bishop's on to e7, it's a lot safer. But I like this sort of activity. There's sort of pressure here. The bishop can always drop back or something like that. So I was quite a big fan of this. Castles d6, c3. Here I played bishop e6. The idea is so that d4 doesn't come with tempo when and if he plays it. So bishop e6, rook e1, h6. Here he played knight d2. So just a lot of maneuvering going on here. And then here, so this is still a theoretical position, actually. I didn't explicitly note during the game, but sometimes in openings like Ruy Lopez, you just know, like, you know, that you're just playing common sense moves, and it's still theory. So I believe I'm looking at the Open Explorer, and like Praggnanandhaa has reached this position, Keimer, Aronian, Prague again. So a lot of great and famous players have reached this position as black. And I think as white, Ding Liren, Magnus Carlsen, Anton Korobov, Niels Grandelius, Luke McShane. So this is clearly a very theoretical position. And I didn't know that. I'm not great with like memorizing theory, so I didn't know what the move was here. I played what I thought was the most natural move, which was knight a5, which is all right. I mean, as you see, the computer's not really griping about it. But the best move here is to play knight e7. And so you play knight e7, and I believe the idea is you're going to play knight g6. Now, I meant to kind of fact check this beforehand, because I haven't studied this in a while. I believe the thing is, if you just let white get a few free moves, they're going to go knight g3, knight g3, knight h4, knight f5. So the idea would be, and I'll just play a few just random moves just to kind of show the point. They'll get this position, and never mind, my knight's on e7 already. So they'll get this position where the knight is sort of protecting each other. And obviously, as you all know, the knight on f5 is very strong. So I believe the idea behind knight e7, well, it's either, I guess, to leave it there so that knight f5 is not as sorry, I'm so blanking out, just not as powerful, or to go knight g6 to go over the h4 square. Now, I'll have to do all this studying, later on my own. Right now, I am here to entertain you with how the game actually went. So I played knight a5 attacking the bishop, and at this level, you just never really want to give up the bishop pair. And normally, if you could just get this bishop for the knight, then you're equalizing easily. Because let's just say he plays like knight g3, I'll just take and then play a move like bishop e6. I'm doing just fine. I have the bishop pair, I'm attacking his queen, I could prepare d5 in the future, and yeah, I really would like my position here. So he dropped back, I played c5. The idea is to sort of take the sting out of this move d4, because now I have two pieces that could capture. Knight g3, knight c6, h3, bishop e6. Some of these moves I'll just fly through. I thought bishop e3 actually was inaccurate. I guess it's fine, because I actually like the fact that I was getting d5 in. Now, if he doesn't take, then I think I'm just going to play pawn to d4, and I actually quite would like my position. So say he played, I don't know, a4, I think I'd be comfortable with d4, and if it takes, I could play e takes. Then I have c4 potentially coming, maybe I have the b4 square for my knight. I have a lot of good things going for my position. And then when he takes, which is what he did, I play knight takes. And again, in the spirit of maintaining the bishop pair, he has to move his bishop again, so bishop d2. So I think the reason he allowed this was because he gets pressure on e5, which I clearly was too hyper-focused on. I was like, oh no, my pawn is hanging. I'm going to put all my resources into defending it. And if y'all know the marshal, so the marshal's like e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6, bishop a4, yada yada yada, bishop e7, rook e1. The thing is, the marshal can be really good when you're just learning it for the first time. So the idea is that the pawn on e5 hangs. So after knight takes e5, you go c6 first, and then you go bishop d6. You attack the rook, then you go queen h4, and then you have this sort of attack. The thing is, the marshal's pretty good when you're first learning it. It's very appealing. But once you get down theoretical waters, then you just have to memorize a lot of stuff, and it can be very drawish. So, now the reason I mentioned that is because there's not really a great way for me to sort of, if I may, marshal this pawn. Like, let's just say I play, I don't know, rook c8. Just hang the pawn. He takes, and I go bishop c7. He just goes like rook e1. And I have no compensation for the pawn. I can take the knight and double his pawns, but it doesn't really matter. The pawn's not weak by any means, and neither is his king. He can always just tuck it away. And he's going to have the bishop here to work with, and it's just not a great position. So, all that to say, I sort of have to defend this pawn. So I play bishop c7. He played knight to e4, going after this guy. So I play queen e7 to defend it. Here he played a3. And I played what turned out to be the best move in this position because I just think his knight on e4 is a little bit unstable. Like, sure, he was able to move it there to sort of gain a tempo on the pawn, but once I drop back with my queen and he plays a3, I have this move f5. So move f5 is a good move because I'm attacking the knight and I have a stronger presence in the center. So he plays knight g3. And I play this move queen f6. So really, the thing I need to do here, like, there's no question black is better here. I just need to be pretty patient. I played rook e8. I played this rook because I thought it was better to keep this rook on the f-file because I have an f-pawn open, and in case the position explodes, it's probably just best that my rook is on f8. And here he played a move which was a mistake, not just because the computer says it. I thought so during the game as well. This move c4. Fundamentally, c4 is a mistake because it kind of creates an awkward situation with this pawn. It's either just going to be an isolated pawn or like a backwards pawn that I could attack in the future. No, I think he played it. I mean, he knew that principle. I think he played it just thinking it was a concrete move and that I would have to, like, move the knight, and then he would just do, you know, just whatever he did. But after c4, I didn't punish it in exactly the best manner, apparently. Computer says... So I played knight b6. I played it simply just maintaining the tension. I'm like, now I'm attacking this guy. If he takes, I'll just take. He has an isolated pawn on d3. Apparently the best move is knight to f4. Which I did consider. I considered it generally. I just didn't see... Okay, I totally just miscalculated. I either miscalculated or just subconsciously dismissed it because the knight is pretty untouchable, actually. Because I would take this way. I'm tempoing the knight, and I have a discovery here. So after knight f1... I think I can... Although if I cash in, I think he sacks the queen for the two rooks. It's not even a sack because, you know, the two rooks are better than the queen. King f7. Then he has this move rook c8. Attacking my bishop. And it gets messy. My other bishop's hanging, so... Yeah, actually, that's actually, like, not good for me because I'm just down... And then he... sacks. I'm just looking at the computer line. I apologize. Apparently this is just really good for white. Well, that wouldn't have been fun, but that didn't happen. But so I wouldn't have been able to take, or wouldn't have been good. Black is just rolling after g5, apparently. I guess I just go g4 and attack him like crazy. Maybe f3 is the idea because he has like kind of a queen and a pawn. I could always like hide my king this way, bring the rook in. So... You know, if I play f3, this bishop opens up as well. So, That would have been a better variation to go into. I should have gave it more deference, this idea of just going knight f4 and doubling my pawns. Because I've also seen situations where I try that, and it's just not that good. Because, like, my pawns are weak, or my attack sort of just gets stymied or something like that. So, I don't know. I guess it's just really important to just take each position for what it is, rather than just think about different experiences you had and assume that applies here. Well, that's chess for you. But I played knight b6. He played b3. Then here I played knight d4. He played knight takes d4. I actually recaptured the wrong way. I had a little bit of a hunch that maybe c takes was better. Again, like, subconsciously, I'm like, this pawn is weak. He can just zero in on it. But how does he do it, right? He has a queen and a rook attacking it. But how does he get, like, a bishop to attack it? Or a knight? Or, like, yeah, there's not really much he can do. In the meantime, I can always play, like, bishop f7, knight d7. My pawn is well protected. Whereas when I play e takes, I played it with the appeal. Oh, I'm just going to open up my rook to his queen. And then I'll have some dynamic counterplay. E takes, the thing is, it gives up the f4 square, which is important later. So just keep that in mind. He plays queen f3, so maybe he has some ideas of going like queen b7, attacking my bishop, and then attacking my pawn. Here, I played the move. I actually played a move I'm pretty proud of, so I'll actually give this as sort of the first exercise. So if you want to pause the video, black to play, so you know that this idea of queen b7 could be coming. What's a good sort of piece maneuver that you can play to counter it? I'm actually just going to check this text. Yeah. Appreciate you, Jonas, if you're watching. So I found the maneuver bishop d7 with the idea go bishop c6 and improve my bishop. And I was calculating some lines. Now, it's so crazy. He didn't do this. And I think Jason's a smart enough player to not have done this. I did calculate, though, if he tried to go hunting anyway. And I saw... Let me try to remember what I saw. I did see queen d6. I believe I saw queen d6. And if he takes the pawn, I just trap his queen? Yes. And then bishop c6. Then the queen is just bottled up. And he can try to play this, so I counterattack my queen, but I take, and then I win a piece. And I'm just up a piece, so we're doing really good. So it would really be silly for him to just go queen b7 and just try to get a pawn when his queen's literally getting trapped. So he played knight h5. I played queen to g6, which I believe was also a mistake. I should have gone queen c6. Because after queen g6, he goes knight f4. And remember what I'm telling you earlier about the f4 square. He's able to reroute his knight. So all the way back, where did I play that recapture? It was here. All the way back here, e takes kind of shoots myself in the foot. Because he has the f4 square. He has a bishop bearing down on it and a knight that can reroute there. And the reason it's significant is because this knight is just perched on the f4 square. Like, he could jump to g6 in theory, he could jump to e6 in some positions, or he could jump to d5, or he could just stay there. And the only way for me to force the knight out, well, one was to trade my bishop off, which I was not thrilled at the prospect of, because then he just has, now he has a sweet bishop on the f4 square. So it's like, you know, pick your poison, right? Knight or bishop. And then the other way I'd be able to kick it out is if I play g5, which would just be horrendously weak for my king. Then after he moves the knight, he could play like h4, and then my king would be in peril, potentially. So he plays g3. Another thing I should note about these moves is that queen g6 came with the threat of bishop c6, which would attack the queen and threaten checkmate. Although maybe even if I got the chance to do that, he would play knight f4 in between. But then I would take, actually. So yeah, it does come with the threat of bishop c6. And then here, it actually, queen d6 actually would have come with the threat of g5. So I was saying earlier that g5 would have been horrendous, but if it wins a piece, then it's good. Because if he had just played some random move, then I have g5 here. And the point is I'm attacking the knight, If he moves the knight, I have mate in 2 with queen h2 and queen h1. And then he just loses a piece here. Now it's equal because white's going to have compensation because my king is weak, but g5 is also a legitimate threat. So he played pawn to g3. I played bishop c6. He played queen h5. I played bishop d7. Yeah, I started to panic here. I was starting to get pretty low on time, actually, because I was starting to see variations where, like, the f5 pawn is hanging. I was looking at stuff like, I don't even remember the variations, but I saw too many variations where he could, like, take, and then, like, take on f5 or something. The best move here is queen d7, which I think just holds everything together. It defends f5. It also puts protection on the rook. So that would have been better. I played bishop d7, which is not as good. Here he played knight g6, which is not the best move. The best move, apparently, pretty crazy move, actually. This is move b4. So I think the idea behind b4, if I take, he plays c5. And then... Wow. So he doesn't even, like, take the exchange. Like, this whole time I'm thinking he just plays bishop takes b4. He goes check. Like, literally my best move is to block. If I go here, he goes check. And then just takes. And, I mean, I'm being completely crushed. If I had gone king h8, he still goes bishop takes b4. Okay, so the idea behind b4 is, I think, to get this square actually for the bishop, which is actually pretty baller. If I take this way, he takes c5, and then he plays bishop b4. Okay, so b5 would have been a killer move by him potentially, but he didn't do it. He played knight g6, and I'm in time pressure. I had like 3 or 2 minutes left. There's a 5-second delay, by the way, so before you move, or after your opponent moves, you have 5 seconds before the clock actually goes. So even in time pressure, you don't necessarily have to lose on time. So I took e1, then I played this move bishop e8, which I thought for a second just won a piece because the knight is pinned and I have a queen attacking. He finds one of 2 moves. He could play knight e7 check because the knight's protected and he'd be able to get out. But the other move he found was bishop f4. And I was just like, I don't know what to do here. I just saw like all possibilities of me either taking this way, taking this way. So I take with the queen. So let's break it down. So if I just move the queen or something, I lose the exchange, which is actually what happened because I panicked. If I take with the bishop, he takes my queen, and then he takes c7. So that's important. And if I take g6, he takes and then takes c7. I just didn't like these endgames, so I was like, again, I panicked. I was like, I'm going to go queen d7 just to maintain the tension. Because I'm like, you know, this guy's still pinned. Maybe I can have an attack here. Well, cold shower, he just took f8, which tempos my queen. So I don't have time to take his because he takes mine. So I just played king takes f8, didn't know what to do. Then very elegantly, he just played rook takes e8. Traded everything, and then he's just up a piece in this endgame. He has 2 bishops, I have 1 knight. I played on a little bit more, but it's pretty dead loss here. I think he just like rerouted his bishop or something, and then like, yeah, he just got very easy play, and I was in time pressure. So that was a little demoralizing, especially since I was better. I would say that I probably did outplay him for the most part in the middle game, but you know, I'm the lower rated player. I just made some mistakes. I rushed, I panicked, and I lost. And that's how it goes sometimes. But we gotta move on. These are fast tournaments because it's like starts at 6 p.m., ends by like 9 or 10, so we gotta get these games going. So really didn't have much time for a recovery. So in round 2, I played Tanish, the Wonder Kid. I got 2 blacks in a row, which I wasn't really fazed by, I don't think, because it's a quad, it's 3 rounds, so you're gonna get either 2 whites or 2 blacks. Normally it doesn't go like that. Normally you get like black, white, then black. But I got 2 blacks, but it's whatever. So he plays e4, I play e5. He plays an Italian. I play knight f6, d3, and then here you could go bishop c5, play d6, and just play the most active position possible. Because I mentioned earlier with the Ruy Lopez, sometimes the bishop on c5 can get kicked, like c3, b4. So I played this more solid setup with bishop e7 and d6. And he played bishop e3, which is actually a really good move because oftentimes what happens is they'll do something like castles, then at some point I'll just play like knight a5, and they'll just give up their bishop. And black just equalizes quickly when they do that. I can play a move like c5, just kind of clamp down on d4. Can play like something like bishop e6 next in the future. And then black, again, is just very solid, not really very many weaknesses going on. So bishop b3, like it's like the theoretical way to play it because you want to preserve your bishop and put it on c2, which is what he did. And here after c5, h3, h6, he played d4. Now, I was actually wondering, because I checked the Explorer, it doesn't transpose. This looks like a variation of the Ruy Lopez I know. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castles, bishop e7, rook e1. It's, I believe, d6, and then c3, castles, h3, knight a5, bishop c2, c5, d4, takes, and here the move is queen c7. Let me just confirm that. Okay, apparently also bishop b7. Maybe it's a different variation I was looking at. Castles, h3. Or maybe it was that as well. It might have been castles first. And then c3, d6. It just transposes though, doesn't it? Knight a5, bishop c2, c5, d4. Okay, so I think why I'm confused is because I thought that queen c7 was by far the theoretical move, but apparently it's knotted up queen c7 or bishop d7. But anyway, besides the point, I was trying to figure out over the board what the difference was between this position and where would it be? I lose the position already. And this position. I guess there's a pretty big difference. I did not play a6, b5, which I don't really know if that matters in the grand scheme of things, but I play queen c7 with that prior opening knowledge, which I think is fine. The idea is that you are protecting e5, so if he takes, I just take back. I could put a rook on the d file, and also if I like reroute, there could be some pressure with like knight b4 attacking the c2 bishop. So I played queen c7, he played knight c3. Here I played knight c6. He played bishop e3. And yeah, already I'm just worse apparently. Like not by a whole lot, but white is clearly in the driver's seat. I played a series of moves. So I played e takes d4, knight takes d4. So I basically allowed all this, knowing that I had an isolated d6 pawn. The reason I played it is I know there are some positions. It might be Ruy Lopez, though. Maybe it's Ruy Lopez. Because if I had a6, b5 incorporated, I could play like bishop e7 easier. But the idea was that if I could get a quick d5 in, then I'm doing just fine. The problem is it just wasn't as easy in this game. He just had a really good position because, you know, I have a weak d6 pawn and he's just able to zero in on my pawn, right? So I played bishop e6, he played rook c1, and here, I mean, d5 is very dangerous because of this sort of attack. Well, also d5 doesn't really work, so you can just take it, and he has enough defenders, but I played queen d7, which I'm not really proud of because there are variations where I want to go knight d7 and maybe bishop f6, and then maybe get some control over the e5 and c5 squares. But I played queen d7. He played rook d8. Sorry, rook d1. I played rook c8. This other rook can't go because it hangs the pawn, right? So rook c8. Then he plays bishop f4. And this was the moment I realized that, like, yeah, this is not going to go well. I'm going to be groveling here in this position. I played rook c4. He played queen d2, and then I just played rook d8, bishop d3, and then yeah, here it's like, yeah, I think rook d8 was a mistake potentially because it kind of takes away the square for my queen. Because after bishop d3, so he plays bishop d3, which I saw generally, but I missed how effective it was because if I just drop the rook back to like c8 or something, he has this. And I have to walk into the rook's line of vision. And then he plays like knight d5, and it's just a very uncomfortable position. Like, yeah, the top computer line is to sack the queen. Like, yeah, that's the top computer line. Apparently I'm doing okay because I have pieces for it, but he would have been the driver's seat, clearly. Let's say rook c7, because rook c7 is the top engine move. I'm curious about this. Oh, I have queen c8. Okay, and I get behind my rook. Okay, I kind of missed that. Still better for white, though, just generally. But that would have been a totally playable... okay, I say totally. I'm still doing not great. I mean, this guy's pinned now. I mean, d5 is going to be harder than ever to achieve. But I can play this. Maybe I have bishop c4 on the way. Try to trade some pieces. So, okay, so I had a little bit of a miscalculation. So I was like... Rook c7, rook c8, what's the difference? So, I played rook b4, and then here, he apparently has knight d5, which I think I actually saw during the game. Yeah, I think he actually missed knight d5 here. Because the idea is that he's attacking the rook, and so if I play knight takes, he plays e takes, and then these guys are attacked. So then you might think, what if bishop takes, and then knight takes, protecting with the rook? Apparently after bishop takes... Oh, bishop takes just hangs the rook. Duh. Yeah, so if he had played knight d5, then the other idea is that my rook just can't really go anywhere. Like, the rook almost just doesn't have a safe square. If I go here, then... Ooh, this is key. Maybe he missed that in his calculation. I'm not sure. I'm just getting cooked in this position. So, he plays a3, I play rook b3, but then he played knight d5, which here I had another miscalculation. This video was going on for a while, actually, by the way. Now, it's already been 31 minutes, and we haven't even gone through the last game yet. Well, this will be a long video. If you're still here, comment Oreo. If you are still here, put in the comment, type Oreo, like the cookie, so that I'll know that you have been watching. I may or may not put another code word in later. We'll see. So he plays knight d5, and so I take, e takes. The idea is that, or what I thought, well, I mean, the thing is, it looks like it's sacking a pawn, which if I play bishop takes first, then after knight takes, the move I saw was bishop c4, but apparently bishop takes h6 is even more effective. I guess just anytime you get to shred my king open, just do it, right? I mean, you still have this bishop here, so... but what I saw during the game was bishop c4, which is a tactic. But he could have maybe even had better. But if I play knight takes, and then bishop takes... So if I try to win the pawn, what I thought he'd do is he'd go bishop c2. I saw that, so I was like, okay, he is attacking the rook, and he is attacking the bishop. If I try to defend the bishop, he just has... I saw a4 during the game. Like, maybe I can just, like, hold on, technically. I guess I can attack this bishop, which I didn't really see, but it seemed very flimsy. However, I actually don't need to do all that. This is actually a pretty interesting puzzle. Not the most practical puzzle in the world, but there is a tactic here and a way for black to make it very messy. So, black to play, and what would you do here? Alright, just give you guys a couple more seconds. Alright, we'll use an Agadmator tagline. If you saw the move, bishop takes g2, you are, what would he say? An excellent sacrificer of bishops. I don't know. But yeah, the idea... So bishop takes g2 is the best move. So white has two candidate moves. They can take my rook or they can take my bishop. If you take the bishop, I just take h3, and I go rook f3. Your king is very exposed. I have like bishop h4 coming, and ultimately I just have 3 pawns for the piece. I guess I have 2 pawns for the exchange, right? No, I have 3 pawns for a piece, my bad. Yeah, so I have 3 pawns for a piece. So even then I'm fine. And it's just dynamically equal. If, sorry, after bishop takes g2, if he takes my rook, then I go here, and he's on the verge of a mating attack. He has to go f3 to not get mated, then there's this crazy line with check, king f2, bishop h4, king e3, rook e8, king d4. And his best line is to just walk his king to the end of the board, to that center of the board. So this were king of the hill, he just wins the game automatically. But this is real chess. This is not king of the hill. And then I just play move like queen h3 apparently, and then we just have a position where I'm down a piece. Sorry, I'm down an exchange. Wait, sorry, what am I down? I'm down a rook for 3 pawns. Yeah, so I'm down material, but his king is just super weak. This would have been a fun position to play. I had no idea what would have happened, but clearly, I'm just not cut out enough to see tactics like that. Like, I need to do better with just seeing these calculation exercises, and also being able to find these resources with, like, bishop takes g2. But that's a skill issue on my end. That's totally okay. I played bishop f5, and I saw that he could play bishop c4. I saw that as a move, but I missed that he's basically just winning an exchange. Because after rook b6, I played bishop e3. So it was at that point I realized I'm probably going to lose the game, so I just played queen a4. And, I mean, he won the exchange, and, like, you know, I tried to put up some resistance, but he was able to trade queens, and then we played on from here, but, like, he ended up, I think he collected this pawn, and then I played, like, I don't even remember. It's not even, like, that great memories, but it's totally okay. So, we're 0-2, so I have one more game to play against our good friend Daryl. I finally have the white pieces, so I can try some stuff out. So I played knight f3 in this game. I could play d4, but I've been trying to do things other than play pawn to d4 on move 1. Knight f3, knight f6, c4. Now I could potentially be revealing some prep or a line that I might use against King's Indian defense players. Now granted, like, for this game, I didn't really know any theory beyond this. I played this move pawn to b4. And the idea is just to put the bishop on b2 to try and neutralize this guy while also getting a head start on the queenside attack. So we'll see how that goes. He played bishop g7, I played bishop b2. Then I played g3, so I decided to just kind of fianchetto the other bishop, have a double fianchetto system. He played bishop g4, which I think was a mistake positionally because I just played h3, attacking the bishop. And then he can't drop back because of this. So he took, I took, he played c6, so that now my bishop's blocked. Knight c3, knight d7. I'll tell you for context, this game I was just so flustered because, well, I mean, I was just like frustrated that I lost my previous games. So I was really just playing moves on autopilot. I thought about going h4, h5. It looked tempting because I hadn't castled yet. My bishop was on f3. But I didn't see a great way for my queen to get involved, so therefore I deemed it a pretty bad plan. So I just castled. I castled, which was actually a mistake because of this move I missed. Knight e5. So now I have to surrender my bishop here. And if you've known me and, like, watched my content or just known me in general, you know how much I value the bishop pair, right? So, and then this guy's attacked, right? So, sorry for these random blank stares. It's like 11:30 at night, and we're recording a tournament recap. We're just doing brilliant, right? So this is not the end of the world, because I already had the bishop pair, so we're really just going to get just an equal material imbalance, which is fine. We got this, which, yes, I have double pawns. I'm not worried about that. D5, then I play A4, King G2, and then here it starts to get interesting right here. So he plays E5. So I have an idea that I set up with playing rook c8. Sorry, rook c1. So I took. That's a move I played. He takes back. The move I wanted to play, which is apparently fine, is knight b5. So I wanted to play knight b5 with the idea to bring the rook into the c7 square. I dismissed it because of a6. I didn't think I was making any progress. Although, and I guess the more the computer looks at it, the more it kind of realizes it's not all that, but apparently I can just play knight c7. I guess I forgot, like, if rook c8, I can just take d5. So there's that. But I didn't really feel like going into that. So I played d4 here. d4 was my idea behind taking, because then when he takes, which is what he did, I can play knight b5 with a follow-up idea of taking on d4. If he had played e4, then I would have just been happy taking, and then taking. And taking this guy would have been very risky. I think I just play... I think I can put a rook on the d file. Apparently also this is good. And then rook f to e1, and then, yeah, he's just going to be without a dark square bishop, which will be pretty tough on him. So, e takes d4, knight b5, knight takes. And then here I played rook c2, rook c1, just piling up some pressure on the c file. And then here he makes an interesting decision. He just takes my knight. And I say it's interesting because when you have a fianchetto bishop, like the dark square bishop, whether it be King's Indian defense, Banco, modern defense, or something like that, you rarely just trade that bishop for a knight. Unless you're getting something tactically, or there are like very few positional examples I've seen where black will just do it and have some positional justification. There's a Fabiano Caruana game where something like that happened. I want to say Caruana against like McShane. I could be totally off, but rarely do you just trade the bishop for the knight. Especially when I'm going to have a bishop roaming the whole board, including those squares that you are no longer occupying. Now, where I give Daryl credit is I don't have a clear way to break through. Like, yes, I'm clearly better, but in a game 30 game where the clock is ticking, it's not obvious how I break through. So his next move he played queen e6, and I'm like, well, do I trade rooks here? I can't go to c8 yet. I can't quite go to the e file. I can put another piece on the diagonal, but again, it's not really doing anything. So I just have to sit and wait. So I played rook c5, I played queen c3, he played f5, rook e1, then here I played f4, he dropped his knight back to g7. Apparently f4 was not the absolute best. Apparently I should play b5, and then takes, rook takes, okay. And I guess I have a new weakness to attack. I don't know, I'll have to look into that a little bit more on my own. But I played f4. Simply, I didn't really want to allow him to play f4. That he very quickly played, which turned out to be the best move, which was knight g7. His idea is he's going to reroute his e6 and attack my pieces. Now here, I blundered, and I deserved to lose the game based off this. I played bishop f6, which misses a very simple tactic, because I'm attacking the rook, but my bishop is reliant on my queen, so he can sort of danger levels me. He can play d4. So now my queen is blocking the bishop, or my queen's access to the bishop is blocked. However, I have a saving grace. I have queen c4, and he cannot take my bishop because he would be put in check. So I thank the chess gods for me not losing all three of my games in the quad. So he took, I took. And then so the idea is that he has a passed pawn, but also it's just going to get stopped. It's going to get stopped and potentially collected. He played the move rook e8. And here I actually missed a simpler way to win a pawn. I kind of did the long way by like taking and then going bishop e5, so therefore dominating his knight, and then I was able to collect the pawn. But I could have actually just taken. So I kind of didn't really... I just missed taking with the rook. I saw that Sorry. I saw that if I do rook takes, knight takes, and bishop takes. I thought he had knight d6. Oh! I'm such an idiot. Knight d6 blocks the rook. So I was like, he can play knight d6, then he can take the bishop. Well, that's not how it works. Another horrendous miscalculation. Ugh. Well, we clearly have some work to do before our next tournament, as far as calculation goes. But what I also saw, or what I didn't see, yeah, rook takes d4 would have just been a cleaner way to win a pawn and probably win the game, because if he takes, I take this guy, and if he takes my rook, I take here, and then I take, and then this endgame's just probably winning. Technically, it would have taken some it would have taken some time, but in time pressure and things like that, that would have been the expected result. So I played bishop e5. The idea being that I'm sort of 3 squares away from the knight, which means that my knight, or his knight, is dominated by my bishop. So wherever the knight goes, my bishop has the ability to take, which I was fine with. I was fine just eliminating the knight, because then I can collect the d pawn and then try to win that endgame, which is basically what happened. d3, so then we trade, and then get this pawn endgame, which I assumed over the board it was winning because I was up a pawn, but as you look closer and calculate the lines, you realize that the f pawns are doubled, so it's harder to just be winning. Like if the pawn were on like e3 or something, I'd be easily winning because I could just like play g4 and like waste a tempo or something like that. It would be much more clean cut here. Now black only has one move to draw, which is b6, which he didn't play. He played b5, which I think b5 turned out to be a mistake. You'll see later on. But yeah, b6. Then if I play like f3, he can go a5. So he's supposed to go for this rather than just playing b5 immediately, apparently. So I'll show you what happened. So b5, I took. And here I played f3, which is the only winning move. He played h6, g4. So my idea is that if he takes, I just take this way. Then I have a passed pawn that I can create. Excuse me. And then he plays h5 here. King c3. Now here, I thought, like, it's going to sound silly to say, because you see the evaluation bar that's completely winning. I thought it was a drawn position here. I thought he can play h4 and just draw the game. So what I saw was that I can play king d3. I thought he'd play king e6. And then kind of get opposition. But of course, I just make a move. I just play g5. And he has to move the king. Okay. Well, again, I'm such an idiot, but that's okay. I probably would have come up with that during the game, but he took, and then he took. And here I have one winning move, which is to play pawn to f5. So I just deflect his king, and then I'm just in time. So now I have the opposition, and I win. And I'm very tired, because I just played like 3 hours of chess and a little under an hour of recording recaps. So yeah, that's how the tournament went. I probably can show you the cross table here in a second. Let me just, I think it did kind of go out. So let me just, let's see if we can pull it up. Let's see what you see. Okay, might have to do a little bit of adjusting. So, yeah, this is the final cross table. So, our good friend Jason ended up winning with 2.5 points. He drew Daryl in round 3 and then beat Tanish in round... drew Daryl in round 2, then beat Tanish in round 3. Daryl was also on track to potentially tie for first, but we prevented that, and then Tanish only had 1 win against me, and then I had 1 win against Daryl. So my rating dropped a little bit, not like a lot. I don't count this as like devastating or anything like that. 1805 to 1791, so I think that's like a 14-point loss if my math is correct. Congrats to Jason for gaining like 13 points. And then, yeah, that's how it went. So that is the recap. I apologize if this wasn't the highest quality YouTube video ever, but I also do think getting the raw reaction is really valuable and something I'd rather do than just curate the most perfect video and then just optimize it for views and things like that. Views are nice, but I care much more about just getting content that you guys will enjoy. So if you are watching, so your first assignment was to comment Oreo. Now comment let me think. Comment burrito. If you're here now, if you're watching this now, just type burrito in the chat. So type Oreo, then type burrito. Is anyone gonna do that? Probably not. Also, one more thing. We have these shirts. So this is the tournament. It's called Cat Hair Quad because the guy who hosts them, our good friend Jason, has cats, and you can actually see them right here. Well, yeah, the cats. Pretty cool cats, right? And yeah, I think that's it. Happy 4th of July to those who observe, and if you enjoyed this video, hopefully you did, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Been trying to pump out as much videos as I can. Who knows how long I'll be able to maintain this pace, but I do plan to make more instructive videos. I'll make more sort of games that I'm playing, other viewers, games and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I do hope to start up my podcast pretty soon. So, all right, I'll just let you guys go. Just have a great rest of your day, whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.